Guys, you're in for a treat. Wait till you hear this thing. Now this is about as badass club style as I've ever seen on a new Softail. Can you tell me a little bit about the build on this one?
This was actually off the first truck of lowrider S's we got.
So tell us about this build. This is really a special piece.
So this is 2019 lowrider S. Just come in, we did a 131 on it. The guy's also done Legend suspension front and rear on it. 2-in-1 exhaust, TTS tuner. Went ahead and added audio, Rockford Fosgate system, FXRP style fairings on it. We're going to dyno it sometime next week. We're thinking the way it's set up, 150, 160 horsepower.
It's absolutely insane. Have you dynoed it at any stage yet, or is this?
No. We had one that was a 131 that was EPA compliant, and it come in 128, 130 horsepower range.
What's your name, sir?
Nathan.
And what is your position here, Nathan?
Sales.
Sales. So, who specs out these builds? Because this is really quite remarkable.
This one we just went with the Harley 131 kit, but he did some research, so he wanted to go to the 2-in-1 exhaust.
Yep.
We're really big on the TTS tuner around here, so he took our advice on it.
Just beautiful. I mean, I think that's I believe you got a custom. Like everywhere you look, there's custom touches on this bike. The seat, the plate mount, the engine covers, the pegs. These are those MX style pegs. And you had mentioned the seating position. Tell me that again.
Well, with the risers he put on it and in the mid controls, it just makes for you feel comfortable on the bike. Very aggressive riding. You can get off into curves and you don't feel uncomfortable. You don't feel unsteady, especially with the suspension on it. The seat, when you throttle down on it with that extra back on it, it just holds you in the bike.
So this is all available from Harley Davidson, the Screaming Eagle Stage 4 kit. And the one item that you went aftermarket, I think you said it was a tuner, right?
We did the tuner aftermarket, and then he went with the TBR 2-in-1 exhaust, which he actually had on his previous bike, and he just liked the way it looked and sounded.
Legend suspension, there's a clue right there.
Yeah.
And so front and rear Legend suspension. Yeah. And you had said it felt to you like
it's stiffer than Harley stock suspension, but not a bad stiff. It's really set up for aggressive riding. You get off on a curve, you don't feel like the bike's gonna come out from underneath you or stand up on you.
I think you said it felt like an adventure touring bike as well.
It really, the way you sit on it, it does feel a lot like an adventure touring bike. It's definitely not for a beginner rider, the way it's set up, especially with the power in it. 80 miles an hour, you pull the throttle on this one, you're gonna pick the front wheel up off the ground.
What an insane piece, man. My 117, well, after I rode that, I sold it. A friend of mine bought it, Gerald Rothman Jr. He's if you follow street racing and all, he was one of the top 3 guys in the country for about 10 years. He raced for Ducati and Harley, and I felt comfortable selling it to him, but I wouldn't have sold that bike to like a novice or beginner, because these 117s, and mine was a full stage 4 kit too, and we never dynoed it, but we assumed it'd be around 120 or so, maybe a little more, and it felt, and I'm an expert pro level rider. I've been riding my entire life. I raced AMA motocross, won multiple championships, but the point I'm making is that bike had so much torque that if you weren't paying attention, it wasn't so much the horsepower, it just felt like it pulled like a freaking freight train. Like you could get yourself in trouble. Like a novice rider could hurt themselves. And this
bike feels like a freight train.
Yep.
The last 131 we did,
you got to respect it.
Didn't have all of this stuff, but it was with EPA compliant.
Would you mind sitting on it and standing up straight? Because I want to give them the profile of that fairing. Now, this is, the motor, the suspension, the fact that this is the baddest ass Harley made right now, and that fairing just tops it off.
Could you please repeat
for me.
What you said?
This is, and you had mentioned earlier, that's the FXR style, the old club style.
Yep.
Just beautiful. Who makes that fairing?
I don't remember. It was a company out of California did it, and this was actually their prototype fairing, because they sent it to the local shop, and they actually spec'd it out as far as getting it fit up with the correct brackets and all that stuff. Actually had quite a time with it till they got it honed in.
It's just straight up badass. Like if Darth Vader had a Harley, this would be it.
Exactly.
All black and badass.
The last one we did the 131 on, stock, I had my GoPro sitting up on the tank, and you could see the speedometer here. And when I hit 80 miles an hour, I just really wasn't paying attention, and I throttled it, and you could see the front end of the bike lift at 80.
Wow.
So this one, 30 more horsepower. We're quite sure it'll stand it up quick.
And the stereo system is high end. This is done by Area 51 Customs, a local shop that we'll be going to be visiting while we're down here. competition style system, clockwork fairing, beautiful piece, man. Got a lot of beautiful bikes back here. You got a nice road glide Screaming Eagle. That's a Screaming Eagle, isn't it?
Yep, CVO 2018.
Nice piece. Love the CVO. Yeah, just an acre of beautiful Harleys in there. You got a nice V-Rod over there.
Yeah, there's
Very cool.
some bikes waiting for restoration sitting over in that corner. We've got a shovel head. We've got a couple Hummers sitting back there, a dirt bike, Harley dirt bike.
You know, it's a family-owned motorcycle enthusiast business when there's shovel heads, XLCR Cafe Racers, 78 Armaki 250s, and this kind of artillery in the shop. You don't see that in most of those corporate shops.
XR 1200 with 700 miles on it.
I have one of those in the museum.
That's
Same exact one.
That's the owner's bike. And I guess you saw the Buell out there with.
Yep, I have a
70
Buell
miles on it.
also. As a matter of fact, I would mention to the sales lady out there, my Buell was in Captain America reality show. It's all painted red, white, and blue, and it was on Motor Trend TV, and it's on Discovery Go right now. But that's probably the first time a Buell's been on primetime TV in decades.
long time.
But yeah, I wheelied it right up West Main Street. So
Awesome.
yeah, I love Buells. I used to buy them brand new from the Harley shop when they used to sell them back in the day, but 20 years ago. But I kept that one. Thank you for sharing that bike with me. What's your phone number here if somebody wants a bike like that built? Who do they call?
Just look up Harley Davidson and Dothan online, because we have two different sides of the building.
Yep.
And you'll have to connect through our switchboard. But Harley Davidson and Dothan, we've been here 48 years. My owner's 87 years old and still here every day. He actually rides a 2003 V-Rod and a 50th anniversary Sportster. It's his two bikes of choice anymore.
That's awesome.
We actually have a couple of his sidecar rigs sitting around here somewhere, and you know, we're just a family-owned dealership. We don't do the car lot game thing.
And the quality of the bikes that they're turning out, I'm telling you straight up, are second to none. If you want one built, give them a call. They'll do it for you right here, all in-house. Yeah. Thanks for watching, folks. Stay tuned, and God bless America.
I know, 180 degrees.
False stop there. I had to show you. They have a dyno room too. I couldn't walk by without showing you that. Not every shop has a dyno room. That's where the proof's in the pudding. You know, you can make wild claims, but you know the bullshit stops in the dyno room. You know, when you can show what your bike's putting down. And just for a perspective, my CVO dyno's putting down 105.89 horsepower. That 134 will be pushing 150. That thing's got to be an absolute rocket ship.